We're ready?
We'll
Okay.
see.
Okay.
Oh, wait, one more minute.
Sure.
Yes,
We'll
yes.
be happy to wait.
Thank you, because you're really bright there.
Yeah.
So you're just
Yeah.
radiant today. I almost walked over and dropped the blind, but then, you're a little less radiant.
Whenever you're ready,
We
then.
are ready. Okay. We're going to gavel this meeting into session. This is the Pasadena City College Board of Trustees. This is the Budget and Audit Committee meeting, and the date is, today is Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. This is the call to order. Next is the roll call. I can do the roll call. Trustee Martin.
Here,
Trustee Silver, not here. Trustee Osterling, here. Roll call finished. Do we have, number 3, public comment on non-agenda items? Do we have any?
No problem.
No comments, thank you. And then approval of the last meeting of January 10th, 2024. Do I hear a motion?
so moved.
Second.
Approve the minutes.
Okay, minutes are approved. Okay, and now we're going to move into the meat of the agenda here. This is item B, information with possible action, and B1 is the PARS report. Who's going to report on this?
We have our colleagues here
Okay.
from PARS who are going to walk through a presentation that they put together for us. They did an annual review for us last year. So this is an opportunity to ask questions. Please feel free to stop at any point, during the
It's
presentation.
also up on YouTube.
It is up, yeah,
Great.
that is
Okay.
correct.
Fire away.
Well, good afternoon. Thanks for having us here today. My name is Eric O'Leary. I'm an executive vice president with PARS, and Jen Meza, who's our senior manager with our client services and consulting division. So, thank you very much. And so, so we're here to give you an update on both your OPEB trust and your pension trust. So you have two different accounts with us under one trust, and we're going to walk you through that program. First thing I wanted to share with you is on page 2. As we've shared with you over the years, we historically had different investment structures that the district could utilize under our trust program. And when you set up the program back a few years back, you selected a investment program through Vanguard. And so we've been showing you information with Vanguard over the years. So earlier this year, Vanguard's area that we had worked with, which they call their OCIO business, which basically means Outsourced Chief Investment Officer Department. They sold that to a company called Mercer, who is a big consulting firm, early in this year. And so we have been in the process of working with our clients to transition folks from that Vanguard program to a new program with our trustee. But one of the main reasons we're doing that is during that acquisition, Mercer was clear that they wanted certain parts of that business. One part of that business that they were not interested in was government plans. They had already been in the consulting with governments in the past and had actually sold off that business previously. Mercer did, and so they were not interested in that. So when they acquired that business, they basically told us that this program couldn't continue as is. And so that program, as you can see on the left-hand side, is going to be ceasing as of March 31st. So
Well,
the
at least
end of
they're
this month.
giving us a lot of time to work here.
Yes, they gave us not a lot of time. Unfortunately, with acquisitions and things like that, it's not public information, and so they couldn't share it with us until it was. And so we worked with the trustee, U.S. Bank, and their investment on PFM Asset Management, a subsidiary of theirs, and they've designed a program that essentially matches what Vanguard provided for you, which we'll show you in a second a little bit what the choices are. But basically, those 4 different allocation strategies that you can select US Bank and PFM has matched that. So basically, the allocation structure that you've picked will continue pretty substantially the same. The low-cost reason why you had selected Vanguard, the fee structure is very similar. In fact, when you look at all the fees together, it's estimated to be a slight fee decrease with the new approach. And one of the big features of the Vanguard program was the fee that you paid was based on the entire PARS relationship. And so, again, US Bank and Vanguard and PFM Asset Management has come up with a fee structure that does the same thing. So as our relationship in these pools grows, your fee will go down accordingly. And so right now we have approaching 900 million in these accounts, and it keeps growing. We got 100% of our client base in the Vanguard program moved over and signed up for the new program. That deadline was March 1st. 100% of our agencies have signed documentation to move over to the new approach. So we don't anticipate much, if any, change as we go into it. There's actually a few added benefits to it. The company that we're using with is a long-term investment company, huge service ability, and so there's a lot of advantages to it. Plus, US Bank is also taking responsibility for it as well. The previous relationship was what was called a directed trustee, where really Vanguard was on the hook for the responsibility for the investments. Here they're moving as a discretionary trustee, which means US Bank and PFM are both taking responsibility for the investments. So there's stronger oversight of the program.
Let me interrupt with a question. You said all of your agencies have moved over
Correct.
already as of March 1st?
Yeah, it was 118,
Including us?
including you folks.
Okay.
Correct. And so if you move to the next page, on page 3, you can see what that looks like. So the PARS Trust team is Jen and myself, and all the folks that do the administration of the program. Trustee continues to be US Bank. PFM Asset Management is now the investment advisor. You can see 43 years of experience, almost 217 billion, of assets under management. And you can see at the very bottom, the pension pre-funding portion of our trust is also sponsored by the California Community College League. So if you go to page 5, Jen is going to take you into the statistics of the program.
Perfect, yeah. Top portion gives you information regarding the district's program. Once again, this is considered a Section 115 trust. It does, as Eric mentioned, allow you to put money aside for retiree healthcare obligations and also for pension. They are separated into 2 different accounts. We're going to talk about the OPEB portion first and then the pension portion. For this program, the district is under the PARS plan that does have a private letter ruling confirming any earnings on the account are tax exempt. And the district does have discretion on the amount of money that can go into the account and also flexibility on the amount of money that can come out of the trust as well. This program started back in April 1st of 2018. Your board did designate Candace as the plan administrator for the plan. The current investment strategy that you are in is the Vanguard Conservative Strategy, or the Conservative Strategy. That is a strategy for both the OPEB and for the pension. This can change at any point in time, so if you decide to make any changes, Candace would just have to go ahead and authorize that change by filling out a document with PARS. Bottom portion shows you your assets as of January 31st. The district has submitted a total of $22.3 million into the account. That includes the initial contribution back in June of 2018 of $10 million. And after that, throughout the different fiscal years, it has contributed an additional $12.3 million. The district has chosen not to take any money out yet from the trust, and your investment earnings since inception have been over $3.8 million in the account, making your account balance at $25.9 million for the OPEB portion alone. On slide number 6, we see the contributions, distributions, and total assets. As you can see, this is broken down based on your fiscal year end. You can see when those contributions came in which fiscal year, and you can see how the assets have done throughout those various fiscal years as well. On slide number 7, we show you the returns for the trust. On the right top hand side, you see the returns based on each fiscal year. The June 2024 is for the current fiscal year on there, but it's just 7 months worth of this fiscal year since the fiscal year has not ended.
So is that an annualized return, or is that the return for the stub period?
Correct, so it's July 1st through June 30th, the top ones. And then the bottom ones are returns going back from January 31st, 3 months back, and then 1 year back.
So let me ask my question again. Just for the last one, the partial year ending June 24th, the return is 5.42. Is that an annualized return for the short period, or is that a return that's been achieved during the short period?
It's the return that's been achieved during that short period, so from July 1st through January 31st.
So 7 months.
Yeah, thank you. 7 months, yeah.
Correct, yes. And then you can see the inception to date, about 4%. Now, for the retiree healthcare portion, the district does have to do an actuarial valuation every 2 years. The district does do that with MyHeart. And here are the numbers compared from June 30th, 2023 to June 30th, 2021. Again, this is just a snapshot in time to measure the liability that the district owes. Based on the latest actuarial valuation, it looks like you have about 891 individuals that may possibly be eligible for this plan in the future that you have to account for, including active individuals, about 786, and then retirees, about 45, who are actually receiving the benefit now. If we look at slide number 9, we look at the liability for the district. The actuary does quote a long-term expected rate of return for this trust, and that discount rate is what that long-term expected rate is. They're estimating about a 6.1%, which is pretty on average with all the other districts on there. Typically we don't see anything above 7%. And
I'm sorry, where's that stated? I'm not seeing it.
on slide number 9, on the top, on the header.
Oh, it's in the head. I got it.
Yes,
Great, thank you.
And then based on that information and as of June 30th, 2023, your total OPEB liability, or what's the liability that's already accrued for the district, is $33.3 million for all of those 891 individuals. Based on this information and this time frame, the district did put money aside in a 115 program. At this point, it was $24.6 million. So that was as of June 30th, 2023. If we go ahead and look at the total OPEB liability minus the planned fiduciary net position, that equals your net OPEB liability, which is your unfunded liability, what you still need to start putting aside in order to achieve this in the next 20 to 30 years to pay down this liability. But you're actually in a great shape. 74% is very good. Most agencies are anywhere in the low 50s or even lower. Not too many agencies are as good of a shape as you are. And again, the goal is always to reach 100% on there.
So, just a small question.
Yes.
The planned fiduciary net position on slide 9 is 24,671,928 with an asterisk. And that same number, I think, if we go back to slide 5, the account balance is 25,971, so it's a little bit higher. And what causes that difference?
Because the actual evaluations are done in a point in time. And so every 2 years it has to be on a certain date. They look at all your census, they look at everything. And so that was done as of June 30th, 2023.
That was at the end of the fiscal.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And that's how much
And then
money the district
we've grown a
has.
little bit since then.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
At the bottom of that page 9, if everything were to stay the same and we plugged in today's assets in there, you'd actually be closer to about 77, 78% funded.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's actually a really great question.
I have a quick question back on page 8. Active without coverage. What is active without
Well,
coverage?
yeah, that's a good question.
And so I'll defer that to the district
That's a good
on
question.
individuals that may be active but maybe not selective coverage.
That's more of an HR question.
Okay.
Okay,
But these
I'll take a guess they haven't met the criteria yet. They haven't met the 14 years or whatever
I think it's 14, you're correct.
that's gonna be my guess, but I was
But
hoping
we'll
you.
confirm with Bob.
Okay,
Yeah, usually because you have 786 actives, usually they project who they think is going to hit it, you know, and what the turnover is and so forth. That's what the actuaries do, and so that's why you got to be licensed.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do those calculations.
yeah, except for what's wrong with my theory or guess is 60 seems like you've hired more than 60 people in the last 2 years, right?
So it's
So
got to be
that
something
made
other
sense.
than that.
Yeah.
So that's not it.
We'll find out the
All right,
information.
I was just, all right, well, maybe let's listen.
And then one last number to look at on slide number 9 is the very bottom number, the annual benefit payments. That's currently what you're paying out for those retirees, about 45 individuals. If the district ever needed to pull out any money from the trust, you can take out the current year plus 1 year prior of those expenses.
Okay, say that again real slow. So we're allowed to take money out, but it has to be based on prior year expenses, is that what you're
The
saying?
current year and 1 year prior.
So right now, that's the 2,124,000.
Correct, so you can essentially take out about 4.2 million out of the trust in 1
At
request.
in one time, and then going forward every year. What this is for, it's like creating a pension trust, like STRS and PERS, right? And so you don't pay the retirees, STRS and PERS do. And so the idea is, at some point, this thing is gonna be self-sustaining, so that you just make your normal costs in every year, and then this trust is paying people. And so that's, right now, we're not doing that. But at any point, you could turn the general fund off on this 2.1 million and have the trust start paying
Oh,
for it.
I
But
get it.
because you haven't made any disbursements yet, you can do this year and you can do last year's too, if you wanted to, at any point.
We'd be
And we would
replenishing the
disperse-
general fund for the payments we make.
Correct.
We'd be dispersing this directly to beneficiaries, or we'd be dispersing it to the general fund?
Back to the district, back to the fund, because most districts, the way it works, I mean, technically, we could pay a provider, but most districts will just pay their invoices and the premium payments, and then ask for a reimbursement back.
Perfect. And then if we go to slide number 11, did you need a copy of the presentation?
Sure, yeah, and apologies for my tardiness, and Dr. Gomez sends regrets, he's out sick today, and I was going from a foundation executive committee.
Tell them we wish them a speedy recovery.
I will.
Okay.
Perfect. So we are on slide number 11. On top portion, similar to the OPEB side, same start date, same plan administrator Candace, and same investment strategy. The bottom portion are the assets for this specific portion of the trust as of January 31st. You've submitted a total of $5 million into this portion of the account. You haven't taken any money out. Your investment earnings since inception, $1.4 million, and your total account balance, $6.3 million as of January 31st. On slide number 12, we can see when those contributions came in. It looks like initial contributions back in 2018 and an additional contribution in 2019. And then you could see how the assets have done throughout the different fiscal year ends. And then similarly, on slide number 13, we have the returns, and Eric's going to go into more detail on the investment returns as well. Here are the returns on the top right, again, per fiscal year end, and then the bottom portion are as of January 31st, and going backwards the 3 month and so forth, and inception to date 4.10 as well. Slide number 14 and 15, now we go into the pension rates for the district. As you can see, for the CalSTRS and CalPERS, these continue to increase. We've labeled here that since 2014, 2015, where they were, well, at least CalSTRS with under 10% in 8.88, and CalPERS 11.177, and how they have increased throughout every single year on there. CalSTRS now at 19.1%, and CalPERS estimated to go up even up to 30%. So that's why we see so many districts doing these types of plans and budgeting for this, because it is something that continues to grow for you. And then on slide number 15, you see the pension costs for the district going from 24.9 million, still about 29.4 million on there for the next couple of years. So you can see how they continue to increase for both STRS and personal. And with that, I'll turn it over to Eric to discuss the investments on slide number 17.
Sounds good. Thanks, John. So on page 17, these are the 4 existing strategies that are available through the Vanguard program that will be in place at the end of March. So currently, the district has selected the conservative strategy, currently for both the OPEB account and the pension account. One of the nice things about our combination trust that we have is we do have the ability for agencies to select different investment strategies for the different accounts. So it's not required for you to keep the same allocation structure for the OPEB and the pension trust. And a lot of our clients actually view the pension trust to be a little bit more, they have higher liquidity needs for the pension trust, because many districts think they're going to be accessing the pension dollars sooner than the OPEB dollars. And so across our trust, I think on average, the pension is about one account or one strategy lower than the OPEB one on average about. So keep in mind that you do have the ability to change it any time, and that you can keep different strategies for the different accounts. So these returns are actual. These are as of December 31st. We will get the last March 31st Vanguard returns usually about 45 days after the end of the quarter. So right now these are December 31st returns, and they will not match up to what we just showed you because of December versus January. And they, as you can see, they can actually be some big swings, because you see a month drop off and you add a month, and so average returns on the short term can be very, very different, as you can see. But the long-term returns is about the same. You can see over a 10-year period of time, this got about 5%, 5 years about 6% going forward, or going backwards. And that's conservative is about 40% equity exposure. So if you go to the next slide, this is the new allocation. Now, these accounts don't exist yet. So these will be started up on April 1st. And what we've done to give you an idea of how this works is PFM has given us an allocation of what they anticipate to be. They have a listing of funds that they're anticipating to build the portfolios on. And we've gone through and calculated those returns on a prorated basis based on all the different funds in the structure.
So Eric, if these are just being created and they don't yet exist, how do we get the history? And then I notice none of them show the 10-year history.
Yes, and so the way we did it is we basically took all the individual funds, the components, and took the 1, 3, 5, 10-year numbers, and then did the proration of how much they were in the portfolio. And there were 2 accounts or 2 funds that they wanted to use that did not have 10-year history. And so that's why we couldn't provide a 10-year number.
And
So
I see one of those is a MSCI Emerging Markets.
Correct.
I assume that's Morgan Stanley. But an emerging markets would be possibly in the 3 mixed, but it seems like the fixed income, you would still be able to get the 10-year on that.
yes, we could, but we can't do a proration exactly with the numbers when we had some missing.
Okay. That's not a big deal.
The
It's just-
PFM group, we talked to them about whether or not we could get actual projected numbers. And they told us that the SEC actually changed some rules last year that prevented them from doing hypotheticals looking back on a portfolio. And so they said, we can't do it, but this is a way to give you an idea. It's not perfect because there's not rebalancing and there's not things that professionals do to manage accounts in this. This is just a pure proration. But it gives you an idea that the returns are very similar to what it was with Vanguard. And so we anticipate very, very similar returns going forward.
So why are they moving from page 17 to page 18?
Because Vanguard is leaving the business
Oh, okay.
and PFM
This
is
is-
taking it going forward.
Okay.
And so
They're setting up the same categories and roughly similar.
Correct. Now, one of the-
allocations.
Yeah, one of the main distinctions was Vanguard used exclusively Vanguard product. PFM is going to use the best of the mutual funds, but only index, because the whole key idea that what you selected was to keep fees down and that use an index approach. So they're going to continue to do an index approach, but not necessarily with Vanguard. There's a Fidelity and some different things in there, as you can see with the MSCI one that's
Now,
there.
I understand that we're here today because Candace was going to propose a different strategy that's not on here, the all Bitcoin strategy.
Remember, we're being recorded?
We can have some humor in a budget and audit committee
Of
meeting.
course, of course.
So on page 19, this is some information that we got from PFM. And there's a lot of numbers on this page, but basically what it does show is, again, you're the second column there, conservative, 36% equity, 60% fixed. What this does show is the breakdown in each category, like we showed before. But it also shows you their expected return, the 5 and 30-year numbers. And so right now, and these are as of December, their 5-year expected return on the conservative is 7.3%. The 30-year return expectation on that is 6.3%. So that gives you an idea of what they think you could expect if you keep this thing in place. Obviously, they're not guaranteeing that. That's just their best guess based on their professional expertise. Now, one of the things we should disclose and put out there is as far as employees are not licensed in investments, we don't give advice to the district in regard to this. This is something that PFM is managing for you. And if you have questions with regard to anything internally, you provide that information to us and we can discuss with them and give you responses
And
from that.
our sole decision is which one of these 4 categories we want to put each of the 2 tranches of funds.
Correct, and then they manage according to the policy.
Yeah.
So that's really what we had to provide for you today. Do you have any questions?
So I saw that we have a information with possible action. What's our possible action?
I think that's just a general category that's always
To
added.
preserve that
Yeah.
so that we could
Just
vote
in
on
case,
something.
yeah, but
So you're not, this is informational, you're not asking us
I
to
think
make any
the goal would
recommendations.
be to have some conversation around, what our funding, so we've been really deliberate and intentional in these recent years where we've had funds that we could shift to make these investments. And I think we're getting to a point where, by 26, 27, it's possible that the district could start relying on these funds to help and actually start making some disbursements. As we don't know sort of the murkiness of not only the state budget piece, the murkiness of our base allocation in 25, 26. The goal is just to have a conversation with y'all today, just to let you know that I think under really the board's leadership. I think we've done right by the district in continuing to move, resources into these funds. I think our strategy is to continue to do so, and so our goal, our hope and goal would be to fully fund the OPEB pieces really soon.
Yeah, and it's been said before, but I'll say it again here for the record. Kudos to trustee John Martin
Yep.
for nudging and agitating us to
Yep.
start funding into these instead of getting the legal returns.
Yeah.
And we've seen how much these have grown far and above and beyond what
Yeah.
they would have if we kept them where they were. So, yes, this has been a good move. Thank you, John.
Yeah, my question, which we kind of started the meeting with, almost pre-meeting,
Yep.
was, and you kind of alluded to it in the presentation, would there be any interest in moving from, I guess, more in the OPEB fund based than the pension fund, based on what you said, from the conservative maybe up to the balance fund? And when I look at page 17 and 18, you're looking at the difference is like 2% in every one of the, 2% gain on every one of the brackets. But then when you look at page 19, you're looking at 0.3%, so page 17 and 18 say, man, we ought to seriously consider this depending on cash flow needs. Page 19 says, why in the world would we even bother? Why would we consider this?
Mhm.
So, I don't know. Looking back, it's real numbers, but it's looking back. What's that mean? It's back, behind us. And looking forward is based on somebody's best projection, and who knows how good that is. So, I don't have a strong opinion on that, but I think a lot of it would go to worst case cash flow projections
Mhm.
for the next several years. If it looks like we're ending this year with a relatively nice ending balance, that would lend support to maybe putting that fund in a little more aggressive fund, because there's a little bit of carryover to help us if we need it in the next few years,
Mhm.
which buys some time for the more balanced fund to grow.
Mhm.
But these are really tough, a lot of probabilities here, so.
Mhm. I think
And-
one idea could be, since Eric, mentioned, PARS is not the investment partner, but we could pose the question to PFM. But I mean, today, I don't see a strong need to move. That doesn't mean that we couldn't get to a situation where we'd want to consider that.
It's so hard to guess at the future.
It is.
Yeah,
My crystal ball is broken.
yeah, and
Mine's fuzzy.
even a projected nice ending balance doesn't equate to a nice positive cash flow ending
Mhm,
balance.
mhm.
There might be other considerations going on this year.
Mhm. Or even next year, again, as we see the state in the conversations, we're continuing to see conversations around deferrals with the other systems that could always, we just came out of the deferrals three fiscal years ago, not last year, but the year before, where we had a deferral that we had to manage from a revenue perspective. And so, since those deferrals are on the table for CSU and CUC, that doesn't mean that we won't be considered for that if indeed it becomes, again, more of a problem for the state to manage.
Yeah, deferral would be the least of our worries.
Yeah, but it becomes challenging for us from a cash flow perspective,
Right.
so.
Can I make one comment?
Please.
Yeah.
And that is, one of the things that if you were monitoring these expected returns over a period of time, you would have noticed that they have increased on the short term. The short-term ones have increased, and actually you can see it with the 100% fixed income one. Look at the distinction between the 5-year and the long-term 30-year. The 30-year expected return on 100% fixed is 5.1. The expected return on 100% fixed is 6.5%. And it's because interest rates are high right now. And so when you got 60% of your portfolio in fixed income, your return is not going to be much different as you go across and that's why when you go across the page, it's not changing that much because you're starting off at 6.5%. And so that's what's happening now. You can see the real distinction on the long-term one. But the short-term one, there's not a lot of difference because fixed is making some money.
Yeah, and it's less risk, generally.
But even going from on the long term 6.3 to 6.9. So,
Yeah, from conservative to the balanced.
I'm interested in their thinking behind why the 5-year growth is 7.8 and the 30-year growth is 7.2. But,
Yeah,
you know, I understand why the fixed income is 6.5 and 5.1. I get that because interest rates are higher than historical.
yeah, in every case, why would you assume that your 5-year return is going to be
But,
better than your 30-year?
yeah,
For the other
so-
3 categories, I don't understand that. Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
know
don't-
how you John, because the fixed
fixed portion
fixed
of the-
income portion, they
of
say
the
is going to
growth.
go down.
Yeah,
If
anyway,
you took that out, then they would probably be the same, because it's really hard to predict equity returns over
Yeah.
5 years or 30.
right.
So
That
the
makes
delta
sense.
is the,
Anyway, I think we're all kind of saying we're probably best to stay the course because there's so much uncertainty.
yeah.
And the great thing is, there's no magic time. You can always change. Something strikes you, something you want to change in the future, you can. So, always
And do you have clients that within one of their funds or tranches do a mix of these, or do you just pick one?
They generally pick one,
Just pick one, okay.
but that's for one account type. So
Right.
generally, you know, for OPEB, well, somebody picks one for pension, somebody picks another, but they definitely do different ones for the different accounts.
Okay.
But generally, it's
One for
one,
each account.
yeah. I guess in theory, if you for some reason wanted to split the difference, you could in theory do that, but
Yeah.
we don't have
That's-
clients that do that.
Splitting it, the hair is pretty fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I have one other question. So you mentioned the underlying component of each of these is some index fund. Just curious if the new company, when take domestic equity, are they gonna find the one best domestic equity fund and drop a whole enchilada in there, or might there be several index domestic equity funds? I'm just curious. I think Vanguard used to be very much just the total market fund or whatever it was, right, for
Yeah.
equity?
Yeah, for right now, we do have a sheet. We didn't provide it in here, but we definitely could. We did provide it in our other meetings, so we did have that. So for domestic equity, they actually are proposing one fund. Right now, they're proposing the Fidelity Total Market Index Fund
Okay.
is what they're using. For international example, though, they're using 5, not 4. So they can though. That's what they're doing right now. That doesn't mean going forward, they will always continue to do all in that particular fund. And they can also change the fund. If they think that fund isn't performing up to par, they can always go to another
So
fund.
just for interest, how many total funds are there on that page?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
considering there's, what, there's 8 categories they're trying to hit, and there's 10 funds, so
Right.
they're not splitting these categories up.
How'd you get 8 categories, John?
I just counted 3
4.
domestic, 2 REITs listed, infrastructure's 5, and then 3 under fixed incomeization.
Okay, oh, I see, yeah, I got you.
A quick final question on, so, on page 9 where it says as of January, that we're approximately 77.9% funded. Do you have any districts that are fully funded?
Yes, not many, but you know.
Okay, so it's a
Yeah,
small
I
number.
don't know if we have any, do we have any colleges? I don't have any colleges that are of my clients. I think we might have one
Maybe.
that might be, but I don't know. I don't know if they are, but I know we have some that are. We have a handful.
If, I don't remember how we did all this, but if we had 24 million on June 30, 23, we might be fully funded today.
Well, as of January 31st, you're at 25.9.
As of January.
So look at the asterisk
Oh,
just
January.
below, yeah,
Yeah.
which is
Oh, okay,
77.9%.
25. All right,
Yeah.
never mind then.
Yeah.
Because there was a nice little pop that happened at the end of the year,
Mhm.
yeah. So,
But from your perspective, no colleges are currently fully
Oh,
funded?
no, I don't know that. I don't know that. There's some, there's gotta be some, because we're not the only only vendor that does this too. So there's gotta be somebody that, because there's some that also did, I'm trying to remember if there's any colleges that did, but those agencies that did back when GASB 45 came out, did OPEB bonds
Mhm.
and fully funded that. And so those agencies, I'm sure that have, but it's few. It's a handful. The majority of agencies, when we do these meetings, not a lot of them are sitting at
Probably less than
74%. That's
5%.
pretty good. So, most of them are sitting there, if you're lucky, at 25%.
Mm.
Maybe 50%. But and the colleges tend to fund especially OPEB, not pension too, fund more than like K-12.
Mhm.
They definitely fund more on OPEB. And I think it started, we always used to hear that it was an item that a lot of agencies got talked about in the accreditation process and
Mhm.
things, where in K-12 it doesn't come up that way
Mm.
for some reason. So college districts definitely pay attention to this issue, like you have.
Yeah.
But you
As soon
guys
as
have
we
done a
get
great job.
big-headed, then we ask ourselves, what percent of our first Thursdays?
Don't go
Well, that's what we're focusing on.
I didn't notice, I saw that number was deliberately not in here.
Don't go there.
I will say
Yeah.
most districts don't try to fund that,
Mm-mm.
because again, that's a state issue, kind of a state issue. And most districts use these funds as more of a mitigation against the increase, right? As
Yeah.
opposed to trying to eliminate a
The
liability
increase in our
that's
contribution.
just so massive.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was very informative.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're always available if there's any questions once you review this and anything comes up after this meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great, thank you. We don't have any other items, do we? Proposed meeting schedule.
I think we have to hold to wait, however, to see how the subcommittees are reconstituted.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, we have a meeting scheduled next month, I don't know if we're
What
gonna need it.
date, John?
April 3rd.
April 3rd.
Yeah, just in time for us still to be on the,
Right.
on the
Candace,
committee,
if you,
but I don't know how
okay,
much you
speak
need
for
it.
John, if you need us to meet on April 3rd,
We will let you know. Okay.
We'll be here.
Yeah,
If you
We'll
don't,
stick it out to the bitter end.
Okay.
And if there's nothing going, feel free to cancel.
Okay.
Okay, so that takes us to item E, adjournment.
so moved.
Second.
Are there any proposed future agenda items?
I don't have an agenda.
I don't have any.
Thanks,
Okay.
no, thank you, no proposed future agenda items. And item E, adjournment, we are now adjourned.
Thank you,
Thank
Sarah.